Lunacy Audio reached out to me and asked if I want to have a look at their plugins. And generally speaking, I'm more interested in instruments, so of course I was interested in checking out Cube, but also they just launched Beam 2.0. And Beam is also a very interesting plugin. It's a multi-effect plugin, and I think they're really trying to grow it and build it into a competitor to other big names in the multi-effects bracket. I'm talking about plugins like Shaperbox or Infiltrator. I want to mention that it's not quite there yet though, but in this current state, Beam 2.0, you already have a nice variety of effects that you can parallel process, and also you can use the LFO and envelope tools here to bring in some movement very easily. And comparable to something like Shaperbox, you also have a lot of control over the shape of the LFO, and you can even draw your own MSEGs. Let's look at this beat I made, mostly using Cube and Beam. Is preset Coconuts. Originally it sounded like this. Obviously Cube is about layering sounds. Here I really enjoyed this xylophony arp though, so I just want to hear that one. I just dropped a default Beam on there. And I was immediately impressed with this nice lush sound that I got. Here we have two effects in parallel, grains, which is kind of a granular delay, and space, a convolution reverb. And then I built it out into this effects chain. If I click on one of these intersections, I can mute this path down here. So I started with the default preset, and I added a filter to it. And the filter cutoff is controlled by an LFO, LFO3 in this case. And you can see it has kind of a sidechain style envelope curve and is controlling the cutoff. And if I just hover over this 3, which stands for LFO3, I can increase or decrease the amount of this modulation or even reverse it. Also, I used LFO2 to give the stereo of it some random movement. You see and hear how it's offsetting the cutoff on the left and right channel a bit. I added another grain delay. And I wanted a parallel channel that's a lot more dry. Let's go to the path mixer again and unmute this path. And here I just have some saturation. Next up, I added some drums. Currently very simple. Let's transform it with Beam. Now with this volt effect, I did something quite interesting, I think. I used some of the heat saturation right here. I'm using the envelope to control it. And whenever an envelope hits, I'm turning the effect way down and then right back up. So we're mostly saturating the tail. Let's just hear how it sounds if I lower this modulation amount. Very tame, right? But if you turn up the heat, we get this really distorted transient, which isn't what I wanted. So I'm just using the envelope to do this. To get a really nicely saturated tail. And I did the opposite with crush. So get mostly crush distortion on the attack and mostly heat distortion on the sustain. Then I used another instance of Beam, just using time. Not too bad, right? So what you do with these levels right here is you make one of these sections slower or faster. And it's going to be looped over and over, or just cut off if you make it slower. And with shuffle, you can reverse the playback. You also have this pitch parameter right here. I also added some hi-hats to this. And here I have a filter that's opening up. And you see right here it's modulated with LFO2. Then we have another filter as a low pass. And then we have Haze. This is a new effect in Beam 2.0. It's like a chorus. What I did after this is kind of a bonus tip. With Zip, you can use brightness of a signal to compress. The brighter the signal, the more it gets compressed. Next up, I added another cube layer. Let's add beam to it. I'm adding a reverb and then also haze. And then another instance of cube as a base. With beam again. Here I actually used a preset called Warp Detonation by Dash Glitch, and I just turned down the mix quite a bit. Well, what's new in Beam 2.0? Mostly Haze, the new chorus module, 100 new impulse responses and presets, modulation and filter updates, and you can use all of these modules as individual plugins now. And also there's a new premium preset pack, which I think is a paid expansion called Embers with presets by Venus Theory. I do really like this preset browser, by the way. It has a search function and you can filter according to instrument, some nice keywords right here. But when I wanted to play with this plugin, I didn't really find myself using a lot of presets, honestly. I can also generate a preset. This is just the drums. Ooh. See? I think that's crazy how they use the convolution reverb to get a disperser sound. And this one they use to get like a resonator sound. Just with convolution. That's really interesting. Here are one of the new presets. Comb filters. I'm not really the right guy to showcase all of these advanced sound design features because that's just not the type of music I make. But I think these presets are showing that it is very powerful indeed. So now the question, is this already a valid alternative to Shaperbox or Infiltrator? The modulation system is definitely different compared with Shaperbox, where you have like clear MSECs per effect. Here you just have the LFOs on the side and the envelope on the side. I think this works well enough though. I think this is just a different workflow. I don't think it's really a disadvantage or advantage in either direction. I think a big difference at the moment though is that there's no multiband processing. Do you need multiband processing though? Let's just compare. With Shaperbox 3 we have Time Shaper. We have that one too, it's called Time. Drive Shaper, we have that one too, it's called Volt. Oh, by the way, I can't add another volt. You can only add 3 instances of one effect. Noise Shaper, we don't have that here at the moment. Filter Shaper, we do have that. There's a filter. Liquid Shaper is kind of Haze, right? Crush, that's inside of Volt as well. Pan, there isn't an effects module for it, but you can just modulate this pan source right here with an LFO like this. Reverb, of course, we have the space, which can do a lot more as we saw, like with disperser sounds and resonator sounds. Width, I think there's nothing like a width section at the moment, but there is grains, which Shaperbox doesn't have. So I would say it's definitely a valid competitor to Shaperbox, aside from the multiband processing. Same with Infiltrator, I think. And they have 45 effects. That seems to be a bigger selection. These are the effects in Infiltrator 2. Different filters. There's also formant filter, comb filters. Seems comparable. There's no frequency shifting, no ring modulation. Yeah, there's some more effects in here, like FM. Let's talk about some issues I have with this plugin then. I'm not sure how to delete these segments. I can't drag them together. This isn't intuitive enough. Right click on these arrows. Okay. Also, something weird. I have to scroll up to go lower. Let's just compare that to a different plugin. Scrolling down lowers the effect. Scrolling up makes it bigger. Scrolling down means down, scrolling up means up. Even with Lunacy Audio's own cube, scrolling up means more, scrolling down means less. But then with Beam, it's the opposite way around. But you can change it with the settings. Knob control direction down. I just don't understand why they made that decision, right? One last thing I have to mention, as the guy that made a video about the nicest looking plugins, the prettiest plugins. It's pretty pretty, right? It looks pretty good. It's very unusual. I like that. It's not perfectly my aesthetic though. It's maybe a bit too gloomy for my taste. I like that it has a unique vibe. Alright, thank you very much for watching the video. These are my impressions of Beam 2.0. They did reach out to me and they gave me the software for free to test, but they didn't pay me anything. And all of these thoughts are my own thoughts and they didn't have any input on the video. So that's my actual opinion. I think it's pretty good. I think it's comparable to Infiltrator or Shaperbox. It's different. It looks nice. Sounds good. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.